Hello and welcome to the Sensual Being podcast with myself, your host, Jolene Whiting. I have been a pole dance teacher for nearly 20 years. I'm also a yoga instructor, and my favourite pastimes are connecting to my own sensuality, connecting with the world, and connecting with animals as well. In this podcast, you'll find new and inventive ways of how you see yourself, connecting yourself with others, and also how you see and view the world around you. This episode today is maybe a little bit controversial, but it stems on from a video I saw on social media about ditching the gratitude practice. Do you agree with that or do you not? Let's find out. Hello, sensual being, and welcome back to the podcast. Thank you so much for joining me today. I really appreciate your presence in this world, so thank you for being here. Today's episode was one that I woke up thinking about at 6 o'clock this morning because it was sparked off by a video that I saw yesterday on social media, as so many things are sparked off in our lives nowadays. And it was very interesting. It really got me thinking. I thought, I need to sit with this. This is very interesting. So as somebody, myself, who has had a gratitude practice every day since 2013, this really made me think. And I have some interesting views on it. And before I get started, if you are somebody who has seen this particular person with big following talking about this, he is not wrong. And also, I am not wrong about this either. This is going to be a conversation where you take what resonates for you and run with it. Because this situation, what I'm about to talk about with gratitude practice, is going to be very personal to you. So if you think, oh no, Jolene, do you know what? That doesn't really fit with me. I think I do agree with what he says. That's fine. You take that and run with it. But I'm going to tell you today why it doesn't quite sit right with me. And I did try and sit with it and think, maybe I should be looking at it another way. So basically, he's saying to ditch the gratitude practice, particularly if you've been doing it for a long time. I'd say, 11 years is a long time. And yeah, to get rid of it because it's bypassing emotions. And I thought, oh, really? That's interesting. And I really thought about it because I thought, well, I advocate not bypassing emotions. I advocate feeling them. I also advocate the fact that we do have a certain element of control about how we show up in the world for ourselves, for each other. So I really sat with this because I thought, am I, bypassing emotions? Am I not feeling what I need to feel? And when I thought about it, I thought it was interesting because, we've all heard the term, oh, don't Pollyanna all this, that, and the other on me. Now, Pollyanna, for those who don't know, it was a children's novel written back in 1913 by somebody called Eleanor Porter, I think it was. I haven't read the book, but this is someone who wrote a book about a character who literally puts a positive spin on everything. And I get the impression that it doesn't mean that she finds the opportunity in everything. I get the impression, I could be wrong. I really should read the book before I actually speak like this. So take it with a pinch of salt. That she literally just plasters everything with a happy brush and is like, yep, it's all good. It's all good. It's all good. Now, I don't believe in doing that. I wish we could do that, but you can't do that because you are literally bypassing emotion. So anybody who's got a gratitude practice, if you are doing that, don't feel bad because honestly, if we could all have good vibes only, oh my God, wouldn't that be amazing? Life doesn't work like that. And that's okay. We're not designed to work like that, and that's okay. So please come at all of this with appreciation for yourself and for where you are right now. Okay. So when we put too much optimism on everything, someone's just died. Oh, don't worry, we'll be great. It's like, no. You need to feel whatever you're going to feel, because as a human being, we are having a human experience. And I feel like this gets very hard to do sometimes when we just want to feel good. We can really let that overshadow what we need to feel. And there was someone who commented on this post and said that they were told to ditch the gratitude stuff because they grew up in a household where you're like, you should be grateful for the pavement you walk on. You should be grateful for the dinner on the table. It's like, yes, you should be grateful for that. But also, it's remembering that we are all having a human experience and to meet each other where they are. So where gratitude practice, I feel, really comes in is it gives you an inner strength. So, for example, if I've been practicing gratitude every day, however this looks like, so me personally, I have a gratitude journal. And it's just a diary. And all I write is a few lines in there of things that either I'm grateful for, that I appreciate, or that make me smile, make me happy. Very basic things. Sometimes they're very, very easy things. Sometimes they're big milestones, like starting a podcast. Oh my God. And other things are like, oh, I had my favorite chocolate bar today and I loved it. And it's not to say that that's the only thing that cheered me up that day. It's not that. It's just to acknowledge the good in the day rather than going to bed. I like to do this in the evening. So I don't like to go to bed and there might be something on my mind, because how many times do we go to bed with something on our minds? Very often. It can't just be me. So we go to bed and we've got something that we're going through, working through, and we're dealing with it. But to be able to harness the energy to find the good that has been in that day. Maybe you've been through an accident with somebody, but you were there for them. Yeah, it's really, you're not trying to oh, I'm so happy I was there for them. No, I'm grateful I was there for them. That's the difference. Yeah. So it's not a bizarre optimism. It is a gratitude for your presence being there. Can you see the difference? I'm not trying to say, oh, if they had that accident and you were really happy to be by their side. No, you weren't happy. You were worried. You were anxious. You were scared. They were scared. You were worried for them. You're not happy. But weren't you grateful that you were there? There is a difference. So if you are putting this uncharacteristic optimism on everything, that is not a gratitude practice. And I think some people are getting gratitude and optimism mixed up. I think they're getting it mixed up at times. And that's okay, because to be honest, sometimes they do get very close together. But it's recognizing the difference, because that gratitude practice of what I'm talking about means that at times of difficulty and challenge and upset and fear, with that gratitude, you will get an inner strength to carry on and to go forward and not to just crumble and give up. That's what the gratitude practice does. It doesn't tarnish everything with a happy brush. It doesn't do that. And I like to, people might look at me and think, oh, she's so optimistic and stuff. And yeah, I want to see the good in people. I want to give people a second chance if they deserve it. I'm a Scorpio. So, a Scorpio, when they're scorned, yeah, they don't forgive very easily. But I will always try and give people a second chance. I will always try and get to know people before I judge. We do make a quick judgment because everybody does, But I will always try and give people the benefit of the doubt, but it does depend on what's been done. I am only human after all. But when we sort of think about gratitude and people who don't live with any sort of appreciation in the forefront of their mind, these people, and there's lots of them, you might be one. Okay, it's okay if you are or you have been. But people use such flippant language. I don't even want to say the words because I know that words are spells. I know that we invite the energy back, what we put out into the world. So I want to be very careful, even what I just say in conversation on this podcast to you today. But people who just say, oh, just me now, let me now. I don't even want to say the words. Basically, they want out. I'm not trying to say it properly because I don't want to put it out. But they use very flippant language. And it's like, why are you using language like that? It's so dark. It's so dark. But when you're leading through your life without gratitude and appreciation as a daily reminder to be in here, you can be in a very negative state. Not all the time, but I'm saying that this is my experience of people I have personally come up against. And it's a very real thing. That's why I'm doing this episode for you, because I think it's interesting to come at the gratitude practice from both sides. Like I say, you shouldn't be overshadowing everything with optimism. You should be able, I'm telling you what to do. You should be able to see the opportunity in challenging situations. You might not even see it at the time, but later on you might. For example, if your partner breaks up with you and you're like, oh my God, I can't believe it's happened out of the blue. And then 2 years later, you meet the most amazing person and you are together for the rest of your lives and you have the most amazing life and you think that would not have happened. Oh my God. So there is opportunity in challenging times. You will not be able to see it all the time because sometimes those challenging times are so dark. I'm not telling you to try and find it in those situations. In those situations, you can come back to being like, well, I'm grateful I had that time together. If somebody's passed, I'm grateful that I knew them. Because to go through life without love and any sort of attachment, I feel is not having a human experience. So I feel that to have love and attachment, and I'm not talking about being in a relationship and having your soul partner and stuff like that. I'm not talking about that kind of love. I'm talking about the love for life. You have so much love for your life at times and for your pets or for those around you that you think, oh, I really don't want anything to change. But you know damn well it will. But that means that you can come back into this appreciation and gratitude of what you have right now. And that drives you forward to enjoy those moments and not live in a negative state or thinking something bad is going to happen, because it will happen, because we will all die. And that is okay though. As soon as we can accept that and let that go. Yeah, okay, it's going to be a part of our lives in some way, shape or form. But to appreciate that and to come back into this moment is what life is about. And what you need to do with all these things that I suggest, that other people suggest, gratitude practice, journaling, meditation, going out for walks, connecting with nature, hugging a tree, grounding, all of this stuff. Some of it you'll be like, I meditate every day and I love it. Other people would be like, yeah, I meditate every now and again, but I love to journal. Other people would be like, oh, I do my gratitude practice every day, but I never meditate. You will take things in your life and you will have them for a long time. And you can drop them at any point. You need to know you can. That's why I sat with the gratitude practice. I've been doing it for 11 years and I thought, do I want to drop it? Has this sparked something in me to actually let it go? And the actual letting it go felt hard. And I haven't let it go because I've decided not to, but I thought about it. Something that I've been doing for so long and thought, oh, do I let it go? Oh, I don't know. I've decided I'm going to stick with it, but I have taken on what he has said as food for thought, definitely. But one of the things that I absolutely love about what I do is because I do it every day. Is not only for the reasons that I've said to you, like it just brings gratitude and appreciation to the front of my mind every day. And not on all situations, but it keeps me there. So that's my baseline. So I'm not living in this state of, oh, I just want to leave, just me now, I'm not in that type of zone. Whether these people mean it or not is beside the point. They are putting it out there. And you have to be careful what you put out into the world, because stuff comes back to you. Stuff comes back. What I really love about the gratitude journal is that now I'm very careful with nostalgia, things that pull me back into the past. I actually don't have many photos around anymore because I find I'm like, oh, I wish I could go back on holiday. I was having such a best time then. This photo is a snapshot. It's not real, but with my gratitude journal, I have this feeling like sometimes I like the fact that I can look back at like 2 years ago, 3 years ago today, 8 years ago today, and I can look back and I'll see a few lines of what I wrote. And I can take myself back to that day of how I felt, how I was showing up. I can even remember the bad stuff that was happening. Just because I can remember this good stuff, I think, oh, I remember what I was going through then. That was awful. But I remember this part was really fun. I can kind of get back to the whole experience just from seeing a few words of an experience I had years ago. Or I remember where I was living, or I remember where I went, I remember what I was wearing. I can transport myself back from seeing this in my journal. And I just find that is incredibly powerful and incredibly moving. And I enjoy that. So whilst this started as a gratitude practice, it actually has continued on as almost like a bit of a diary, but not a full-on diary. It's not like a dear diary. It's not like a full-on journal, because I do journal, but I don't journal every day. My journaling is not something I necessarily go back and read. My journaling is a way of processing what is happening in my mind. So again, that's a different thing. But with the gratitude practice in the diary, I love the fact that I can transport myself back, particularly as I actually have, because I've been doing it for 11 years. I started in 2013 and me and my partner got together. Maybe we did get back together. Maybe from a past life we were together. But we got together in the August that year. So I actually have a daily account of being with him since we got together. And I look back at the rest of my life and I don't have many regrets, but I wish I started it sooner. I wish that I had those sort of accounts for like when I got my first dog, for when I first got my pony, for, experiences as a family, when my dad was alive. I wish I actually had all of this, but obviously I don't. So what I'm saying is this actually gives me a hell of a lot more now than just being about gratitude, even though that is all I write in there. It's just that sort of thing. And one of the years I actually have a calendar, an advent calendar that my mum made for me, and it's got little pockets in it. And what I did was throughout the year before, leading up to that Christmas, a few Post-it notes I put in a jar. So when I was filling out my gratitude journal, I wrote out, like some days I just wrote it out twice, and I put it on a Post-it and put it in this jar. Then when December came around, I then filled up this advent calendar with all of these little Post-its, and I didn't look at them until I pulled them out on the relevant day. And then I was like, oh my God, I forgot that happened this year. And some things were really big, some things were really small, but they were all things that brought me so much joy. And that was just amazing. But what you could do is, if you've got a gratitude journal, is randomly put Post-it notes in the advent calendar like I did, but just write in random dates and just flip back to those dates and see what you did. So you could do it in a different way. But the reason why I started the gratitude journal in the first place was, I think it was 2012. I split up with someone and I hadn't long separated from my husband as well. And it was just like, I'm in a really weird place. wasn't 100% happy. And a good friend of mine, Ruth, she gave me a diary for that Christmas, and she said, fill that in every day or something that makes you happy. And I've done it ever since. And it was because of her. And, it's mad how sometimes these little, she might not even think about that now, but what it's gone on to do and what it's done for me over the past 11 years has just magnified my life. And when I look back, I can see how much it's magnified my life, even though when I started it that first year, it was a process. It was something that I had to make myself do. It wasn't at the front of my mind when I went to bed every night to think about something that made me happy. It was work. But now it is a part of my life, and I love that because it's really conditioned me to, I'm going to sound like Monty Python now, to actually always look on the bright side of life. I can hear my dad singing that now. He goes, da-da, 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 da-da. I can hear him singing it. It's funny. But yeah, it's that we can condition ourselves for good. We think that conditioning and brainwashing is all bad, but it isn't. We need to take control of our own life and our own well-being and how we actually show up, just so that we don't keep going as bad and negative as our default state, because we don't need to do that. We actually have that choice to not do that. So, and it's also remembering that when stuff happens in your life, I find that this practice of gratitude is good in the sense of bad stuff will happen, and it will happen all around us. The closer it is to us, the harder it is. And the harder it is, the more you fall, the darker it is. You cannot escape that. You have to go through it. If not, you will go through it at some point in your life, and it will hit you like a ton of bricks. So the more you can experience in the moment, the better that you have of actually processing throughout your life with emotions. But when stuff happens, like when you hear, this is why social media is, you have to be very careful on there, because you'll see stuff like a friend of a friend died. And you're like, oh my gosh, they were only this age. Oh, my friend of a friend of a friend kid has died. Oh my God, no, oh my God, how awful. It's heartbreaking. We can break our hearts every day on social media because that is such a close thing. But a lot of the interactions of the grief, the heartache, the hurt, the anger is not actually that close to us. So we need to be careful how much we actually take on, because you can't let it all in. It's like if you watch the news all the time and you take in every single bad thing that's happening. If we all took that on, we'd be paralyzed. Like we just wouldn't do anything because it's too much. And I know that there's conspiracy reasons behind all of this. That's a big rabbit hole if you decide to go down that. But what I'm saying is that we need to protect our own energy. We need to appreciate ourselves and the control that we have in our lives, because we don't control everything, and you can't. You cannot. And that's okay. But you need to be able to harness control at certain times. So thing is, when you're showing up with a negative mood all the time, it's incredibly draining for yourself. It's incredibly draining for everybody around. And it's quite infectious. It will feed into other people. If you show up with a more optimistic view on life, not to Pollyanna everything, but not to walk around like a misery guts either at the same time. So it's finding that balance. And you are the only one who will know what that balance is for you. And that balance would change. If you are a bit of an Eeyore, some people like to class themselves as a bit of an Eeyore, like from Winnie the Pooh. Eeyore, I know he's cute because he's a donkey, and donkeys are cute. But the attitude is not cute. But you have the power to change that. And if people start saying, oh, I thought you were always miserable, what are you doing happy? You can see how much that has gone on to them. And maybe you changing the way you show up in your life for yourself will have a ripple effect onto how they show up. And that's okay. And if it doesn't, that's okay too. But we need to harness this for ourselves. And we need to know that just because you've had a certain practice, maybe you've journaled every day for 10 years. And maybe you think, I don't know that it serves me anymore. Then maybe you need to change that. And that's okay. Because certain things will help you at certain times. And you might find, I find this, so when I'm going through a challenging time, the spiritual toolbox comes out, the mindset, the coaching toolbox comes out. I'm like, right, I need to journal. I need to have cacao. I need to meditate. I need to do chanting. I need to dance. I need to ground. I need to walk. I need to exercise. And I need to read this. I need to listen to that. But I have all the tools there, so I can just go, right, come on, what's going to work for me right now? What helps me? Okay, these things are helping me. Right, I'm going to do them every day. And then I find as I get better in myself, I still keep them, but I just don't do them every day. I will pick and choose what works for me in that moment. Because sometimes it's a bit like when you sit down to meditate and you are so fired up. You're like, I can't sit still. I can't sit still. Okay, maybe you need to walk. Maybe you need to exercise and use that as a form of meditative practice, a meditative movement. So we need to find the right things for the right time. But some stuff might just stick. But if you decide that you want to let it go, that's okay too. There's so much to unpack there. And like I said, that video that I saw that says ditch the gratitude practice is right in his own way, but also how I said it as well. I firmly believe I'm right in my own way. And also, I would argue that we should try and get away from who's right and who's wrong when it comes to things like this. Because this is not about fact. This is about belief system, mindset, and everyone's got difference of opinion on that. And I believe rather than thinking who's right, who's wrong, maybe take the approach on thinking what is right for you right now. And that's the most important way to take it. So, hope you've enjoyed that. I hope you are grateful for it. As always, remember to lead through your life with your heart and to live with intention. Thank you so much for tuning in today. If you enjoyed this episode, please do share it with your friends and on social media. If you have the time to rate or review this podcast, I'd be ever so grateful. If you'd like to follow me on Instagram, you can find me at Jolene Sensual Being. The links to my YouTube and to sign up to my mailing list will be in the show notes as well. I look forward to speaking with you again very soon.